Howdy, guys, and welcome to another replay brought to you by Base Trade TV. Today with me is Rifkin. I am Flamgo, and we're going to start in the bottom left-hand corner with the red Zerg, the C powerhouse known as X5 Pig.
Wanting a pause right away by the looks of it. His opponent spawning opposite of him in the top right, spawning blue, spawning for root. It is Vibe. I gotta say, I just love their saying, root for root. Like, it's just the best out of, like, any team motto.
That's, now that you've brought that up, that
Like,
actually makes complete sense.
you can't say X5 for X5. It doesn't work the same way. Yeah, Pig was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was formerly on TTE Sports, right? Or
yeah,
Prime, or he was on something over there in Asia, I know that much.
Okay, well, he was with TT, and that was along with Whitewire. Whitewire and Pig were the two StarCraft 2 players for TT Esports. They had a deal with Prime, I believe, where Pig got to go over to the Prime house for a month and train with those guys.
Right,
which is really, really cool. So he got to play along in their tournaments, got to play in, I think, the GSL Code A qualifiers, and along those sort of things. So he got to do a lot over there, came back, but I believe his contract expired with TT, and I think they weren't able to provide as much support as he needed because obviously we're in, Southeast Asia. It makes it a lot harder. You need a lot more monetary value to send people places. So I think X5 ended up being a better home for him in the end. It was more of a, we can't offer you any more in this team than what we are, and they can offer a better deal.
I definitely remember him being on the TTE Sports team. The whole Prime thing was my confusion, because yes, you're right, he was at the Prime house for a while. That's what I was thinking of. But so I mean, this is going to be a pretty cool matchup. It's Heart of the Swarm, so I think it's pretty safe to say we could expect some Mutalisks. I don't know. We haven't watched this replay yet, but I think it's, at this point, most people can expect in a ZvZ, we're going to see Mutalisks.
Oh, Mutalisk is probably the go-to unit, in all honesty. A lot of Roach Hydra has been coming out, but it doesn't have the mobility of Muta.
No, it's got the, it doesn't have the mobility, you're absolutely right about it, but it's got the strength to take it on if necessary. Because, I mean, Mutas are great, but if there's two units that Mutalisks don't like, it's Infestors and it's Hydralisks. And while you don't need both to defeat them, one or the other will be more than sufficient. However, like you said, the mobility is what cripples that sort of force. And that's why you see a lot of pros going for Muta v Muta. But sadly, the catch to that is, Muta v Muta is kind of a numbers game more than anything else.
Oh man, it's really, really, really random as well, because sometimes, for example, you get the glaive bounces, and a lot of pros do this, by the way. Ling's under the Muta, glaive bounce on the Muta, hit the Ling, reduces damage to the Mutalist, but at the same time, it might not hit the Lings, it might hit the Muta. So once you start incorporating all those different mechanics, it starts becoming a bit more random, but you know what? If you have 5 extra Mutalisks, it makes such a difference.
I gotta tell you, Flamgo, watching, oh gosh, was it Braddock? No, Live Zerg and Snute. They had a ZvZ that, touched base on Mutalisks, but it ended up being Ultra V Roach Hydra, and I can't tell you how refreshing that was for me to watch that composition come down. But it's not an easy stage to get to, because the thing about this matchup is, regardless of what your tech choice is, transitioning from one to the other, it's not as simple as, like, ZVT, bam, you swap from Mutas to Ultras, no problem, win the game.
Oh yeah.
ZvZ, you're not afforded that same opportunity.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Look, you can go for Infestation Pit, get Infestors, which reduces your mobility, but it's a lot easier to transition purely because, well, you've got the Infestation Pit there. You can go higher, like, easy peasy. You go Muta, now you've got a really good advantage, though.
I am truly intrigued about this. We have Pig going for the Evolution Chamber, and a lot of times if you're going for this early, you're going for that +1 Carapace, which means you're also looking to get some Zergling fights in there with Banelings early on. However, Vibe also doing a similar build, but with the Baneling nest much earlier than Pig.
Actually, wow, now that you've said that, that's really weird. Normally, personally, when I see Pig play, we see Lings, we see Baneling nest come out, and we see a bit of Ling-Baneling pressure. But that's generally it. Like, there's nothing different. This is probably one of the few times I think I've seen Pig not go Banelings.
Well, the +1 Carapace I think is a lot of ways banking on, but there we go. That's the reason. Saving the gas for the Roach War.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really nice, too, because you got to keep in mind, while the Carapace is going to help these Zerglings survive the Baneling hits. Ooh, actually, nice bait from Pig there. They will, of course, the benefits of the +1 armor do transfer to the Roaches, so the follow-up to this could be just as effective. Now, Pig, I'm going to comment on this because I have seen him on Twitter from time to time, and I do know for a fact for a long time he was trying to find a viable way to kind of skip that Mutalisk phase. So I'm hoping, in seeing this early Roach Ward, he's going to find a way to keep ground pressure on heavy enough to not allow his opponent or himself to get stuck in that Mutalisk trap.
Oh!
But speaking of traps...
Oh man, how is Pixling still alive here?
I don't know, he's actually doing a great job of controlling them, but the problem to this is he's got to worry about what's going on at home. Again, with no Banelings to follow this up, he's going to have trouble dealing with all of these extra Zerglings. He's going to have to match them number for number and vibe. His Carapace will be a little bit later, so Pig, for a small time, will have that advantage.
Yeah, but his third will be denied, and Vibe is going to have a great... Actually, don't mind about that. Pig's going to go straight for Vibe's third.
Talk about a knife fight, man.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people used to describe this matchup, and here's pretty much why. Poster child for it. So I shank you, well, you shank you right back. I mean.
Oh yeah, and both players did get the cancel on both their hatcheries, so that, you know, it works out pretty nicely for both players in that regard, at least.
Actually, dead even on the resources lost, not something you see too often. But Pig's got to be careful. These Zerglings are not in a really good position to do anything. They can't scout, they can't run home. The Baneling's doing a great job of zoning that off.
Yeah. Well, pretty much at this point in time, look, Pig does have roaches at home. He can defend it. Doesn't really want to lose those things, but you know, it's not the end of the world. But the problem is, Vibe is 15 drones ahead right now.
Well, drones ahead can be quickly solved here, as we do have a lot of roaches moseying across the field. 14 of them about to make contact into Vibe's base, or at least through the Overlord. So, I mean, Vibe knows they're out in the field. What can he do? These Zerglings are either going to have to go home or do something incredibly cutthroat, and looks like cutthroat is going to be the option.
Yeah, there are 3 spine crawlers there about to spawn. Those roaches need to get in now, or they are not going to be getting in whatsoever.
Well, at home, Pig's taking a nice fight on the defensive, but seeing the Banelings baiting them out will make a little bit of extra room for these roaches. Instead, decide to go for that third base, will allow Pig to just, again, force this to be a cancel. Roach is going to fight these Zerglings. There's actually a lot of them, but the Roach is in a really nice position. Back against the wall, will start slaying these Zerglings, but not without taking quite a bit of damage. I don't think he actually lost a Roach there, though, just several very, very low ones.
Yeah, that's actually quite impressive. Lings, again, are going to be streaming across the map to try and deny Pig's third. But I think Pig should be okay here, and he's going to go straight for some even more damage than the natural.
Both players did a bunch of damage, but, I mean, Pig, I want to point this out. Vibe isn't going for Mutalisk. He went for the Hydra, he's got the +1 ranged weapons coming out, and that's a lot of gas and time invested into what is not going to work if these roaches just end the game right here.
Oh, not enough roaches left, fortunately for Vibe. And Rifkin, Pig's gonna Spire after all that talk of... Wait, Pig has been trying to get past the non-Spire phase, trying to make sure there's no Spire at all, and you know what?
A little bit of irony here, absolutely. But
I'm disappointed now.
Lots of Hydras coming out of Vibe, and not a lot of creep spread. No muscular augments research just yet. So, I mean, these Hydras are going to be very limited on what they can do. And like you said earlier, the mobility of the Mutalisk is their strong point. Ooh, can Pig hold on to this hatchery? He should be able to get home in time, but these roaches with that speed are just at a snail's pace crawling home.
Vibe just gonna... Yeah, okay, Vibe has to go home right now. And, I mean, look, Pig's defense at the front of his natural 1 spine crawl, there's no wall. There's nothing stopping from, say, a Ling run by, or a Ling run by into third, a Ling run by into mate, or the natural. If Vibe gets a good position, he could do really well.
Well, one big con here for Vibe, and I don't know if this has to do directly with this choice to go Hydralisks or not, but through the pressure Pig has put on, his third base is severely delayed. Pig is already up and mining gas off of this third. Meanwhile, Vibe, his hatchery still hasn't completed. But he has revealed his Hydralisk choice. And Hydras, I mean, it's kind of a funny story. A lot of Zerg versus Zerg hasn't changed in Heart of the Swarm nearly as much as other matchups have, and this is one of them, where Hydralisks, they've got amazingly good DPS, but they're not as tanky as Roaches, so they're very susceptible to damage and, quite frankly, break very easily.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. And Vibe is getting that muscular augment, so they are going to be super powered.
Yeah, we're about to have the nitros kick in. There we go. Vroom, vroom. Speed up.
You see the gear changes that they just scream across the map, but they're going to be going for that third base.
Does Vibe have any indication that the Spire is coming out, though? He did scout it. Okay, so he knows Mutalisks were the tech choice from, at least the time being, from Pig, but 7 spines, a lot of Banelings, some Roaches going to try and hold on to this Hydra push.
Those banelings are so important in this push. They all need to hit.
Yeah, banelings of course do tons of damage to light units, and Hydralisks don't have a lot of health as we talked about earlier. Pig gonna lose his base. Wow, in like 4 volleys. Talk
Man,
about DPS,
Hydras.
Flamga.
Oh man. Hydras are just ridiculously good. Now, obviously, they do need that meat shield, but you know what? They're that much there. I don't even think the Lings or the Wretches would even get close enough.
Well, the Banes with speed, if they can catch the Hydralisks on creep, will actually be at a huge advantage. Trying to catch them off creep, so-so, because I believe Hydras move slightly slower than Banelings off creep with speed. I'll have to confirm that in a sec.
You know, that's something I haven't thought about.
Yeah, Banelings with speed, I think, move faster. At least we'll find out once centrifugal hooks kicks in, but more importantly, locusts are on the way, so that means swarm hosts as well, and banelings don't fare well versus free units.
Oh no, and this is fairly different. I don't think I've seen very many ZvZs with swarm hosts as a choice.
And I want to comment on this
really
too. Pig losing those guys, just losing that base. Look how much gas he has banked up, and not a single Mutalisk on the field, which is what he wanted to do. And sadly, with this many Hydralisks around, he can't really afford to go for it anymore. So keeping these 4 on the field, getting that map control back, cleaning up the overlords here or there, really nice choice.
Oh yeah.
But oh man, look at this push. Yeah, speedlings,
so many banelings. And we're gonna have a split push here. This is gonna work really well.
Coming in from behind. Even the Mutalisk coming on top, and we see tons of banelings connected to all of the Hydralisks.
Oh,
holy moly!
Man.
Look at the carnage in that mineral line. Oh my god, Flamga, what is happening?
What was that?
Well, Pig did the damage he needed to do. He got a ton of workers with that, I want to comment, which is a really big plus, but he also got most of the Hydralisks, and yes, well, it did cost him most of his units. Look, now he's able to produce Mutalisks. 13 on the way. There's still a good chunk of Hydralisks on the field, but there's not that big death ball any longer.
Nah, but there's one other thing that I would forgot to point out, that banelings, when they do detonate, they do damage to burrowed units. So if those swarm hosts, which by the way were underneath the Locust and the Hydralisks, they got hit by banelings too.
Yeah, but they're armored units, so I mean, the damage they take is really minimal. I mean, yes, it hurts, absolutely, no question about it. But yeah, when you're really shy in detection and desperate, that is a move you can make. But with Pathogen Glands coming up next, he's not going to have Infestors just yet to deal with these Mutalisks. And Vibe, oh no, he's got nothing in the main, only a single Queen to defend.
Oh man.
Pig got the main base here. He's even going to get the Overlords on the way too. Talk about carnage.
Oh no, and they're going to get a couple of Overseers picked off if... Actually, never mind, there are Hydralisks and they will respawn, but...
He actually is going to get one of the Overseers.
23, 26! That would be 28 meter with level 1 missile attacks as well. That is a nice number for Pig.
Oh, absolutely, because again, Hydralisks, they're very good at defeating Mutalisks, but Mutalisks in large numbers are equally good at dispatching the Hydralisks. Coming back here for round 2 in the main. Oh, if you can pick off that Queen and get out, nicely done. But the Hydras are just kind of ing away.
I do want to mention that the Swarm hosts from Vibe, they aren't really...
Oh my god, that fungal Flamga!
Oh man!
He catches almost every single one of Pig's Mutalisks, and this is going to be it. This is going to really hurt Pig here. This is so much gas spent and invested into this.
Oh
my god. We see the resources lost go from being fairly even to 12,000. Pig going to continue to pick off drones, though. Nice choice. Going to make the best use of these Mutalisks that he can, but Flamga, that had to hurt. That had to hurt.
And Rifkin, the only thing going for Pig right now, he does have 5 bases operational with gas. Now, he's not mining from them yet, but he is going to be able to. But if Vibe pushes out right now, which looks like is what's going to happen, he's going to be able to do so well.
Yeah, Vibe's really hurting at work because he even accidentally pulled off of his entire natural, just now reseeding them. So, I mean, this is a lot of economy damage that Pig managed to do, both incidentally and on purpose.
Oh, a nice run by in the third.
Yep, gonna get a lot more drone kills. I can't tell you how good Pig feels about this. So, alright, you got me. Caught me with my pants down. I lost all my Mutalisks. Whatever, I'm still gonna kill your drones.
Actually, I would love to mention here right now, throughout this whole game, Pig has killed 57 workers, and Vibe is still fairly much alive. I mean, look, he's killed more
workers than Vibe currently has, is what you're trying to say.
And look, he's still alive. Look, okay, he might not be able to go and kill Pig right now. He's not in an advantageous situation, but his
I,
army is
I,
still able to take on pigs.
yeah, I was gonna say I kind of disagree with you. Like you say, he's not in an advantageous situation. You gotta keep in mind between the infestors and the swarm hosts, Vibe's gonna be able to trade very cost effectively with Pig for the rest of the game. These are all free units, but these Zerglings are so vicious coming into that third base.
Bungo!
Oh, nice fungal on the
Again.
Mutalisk. He's going to lose the third base, so while this fungal's being dispatched with the Mutalisk, but that other clump is being, ignored entirely. Third base does go down for Vibe. Meanwhile, tons of Mutalisk still getting trapped here. Hydra's going to try and clean this up. And Pig, again, taking heavy, heavy losses, but continuing with Mutalisk production.
This is really counterintuitive. Look, Vibe, he has the better unit composition, but just the sheer mobility of the Muta and the Ling keeping Vibe with his pants down pretty much is just so strong.
Oh, Pig could have picked off that Hydralisk then. I'm not too sure why he turned around. I guess the big swarm of blue coming across the map was really scary to him, but if he could have picked off that Hydra den, Flamga, that would have been pretty detrimental to Vibe's composition. And oh yeah, there we go. We'll finish it off now, thank goodness.
Alright, but this army of Vibe, it is a cross-map Hydra, Infestor, and Swarm host. He's going to be able to infinitely siege push here. I
want to point out too, Vibe is actually was severely supply blocked there for a moment, and will continue to do so once Pig finishes dealing with the Mutalisk, but we got a bit of a, I don't know, like, a lot of aggression going on both sides of the map. I don't know if I feel comfortable calling this a base trade, but it's definitely a base massacre for both these players.
Well, we have Swarm hosts on one hand, which are completely free units, and destroying that. And then we have Mutalisk shooting booms that can't shoot up. So it's going to be a who can kill the other person first. But
I gotta say, Vibe's army, like if these two fought in a head-on collision, Vibe's army would win every single time. A nice fungal catching not only Zerglings but the Mutalisks.
Beautiful.
I can't get over how good this is. This is, again, trading energy, which is free for units, which aren't. So, I mean, this is really great out of Vibe. Pig, though, continuing to be vicious, picking off every single hatchery on the field. Vibe might lose this to having no buildings on the field more so than an army fight. And I think he realizes this as he continues to move forward. But, oh my god, is that a ninja hatchery at Pig's third base?
Oh, man. I think we are officially can say base trade situation.
Oh, definitely.
And it's not just a base trade, it's a base find.
Well, especially with the lower base.
Everything.
The low right base being placed down as well, pretty much in Vibe's half of the map. And yeah, I mean, if you want to define a base trade, this is pretty much what it comes down to in a ZvZ. But again, I must say, Vibe, his army could camp his hatchery and win the game, I feel. Because Pig, his composition is Muta-Ling versus a ton of Swarm hosts, which the Lings will never touch, and a bunch of Infestors and Hydras, which the Mutas will never touch.
Yeah, and I believe, okay, so but Pig still has that hive up at the moment and can still make, let's just say, can make his Overseers, but actually I would like to say, if those Overseers are gone, that's it. Those Swarm hosts have infinite reign on the map.
Look at this, Spine Crawlers at the top. There's a ton of them. Pig really turtling himself in the only way a Zerg can, and that's with a ton of Spine Crawlers.
But these Locusts, man.
Free units, man.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
The damage Locusts have is absurd. 14 damage per shot, and you got about, what, 24 of them coming out, 12 of them at a time. Mutalisk coming back home. They're going to catch the Infestors. Oh my god, what a big mistake from Vibe. Leaving his Infestors unprotected like that, getting caught from behind now with the Mutalisks.
Oh, and the Hydralisk.
The Hydralisk go down. The Mutalisk can't shoot the... Oh my god, the
nice
Fungals!
There, but getting caught out.
Locking down all the freaking Mutalisk. Pig is running out of units here. And while he has cleaned up most of Vibe's forces, he's about to lose what little he has left of his own. And Flamga...
Oh, man. Rifkin. He would have been okay.
Well, Pig's still not out yet. This is the big thing I want to point out. I mean, this is looking really rough for him, but he's got an operational mining base. He's still got his tech available. If he can get something out, if he can squeeze anything out, maybe he can get himself back into this. Because Vibe, nope, that's it.
GG.
Trying to build this up for Pig, but...
What was that?
You know what? That was a magnificently well-played game from Vibe. Pig with a great defense, just not quite good enough. But I'm looking at this, like, before we leave. 1, 2, 3 bases, 2 of which are mining. I feel like he could have maybe held on for a little longer. The Swarm host would have worn him down, maybe, but there's little to no anti-air left on the field. I mean, how many Infestors are even left? 4 Infestors, a couple Hydralisks. I don't know. It was a close game, to say the least.
There was a fair few Hydralisks left, so maybe some Ling Bane, but even then, Fungals. But, you know, man, that was such a close game.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.
Thank you, guys.